All right, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy Jake, your favorite investor, and I just got sent a really good property, a really good opportunity for a flip. Now, this property was brought to me by a wholesaler. The wholesaler said that it's worth $750 grand as a resale value, and they're saying that they're asking $475,000 for it. I always have a rule in this game, and it's trust but verify. It is off market. Seller passed away. We need to know whether the seller passed away inside the property, so that's a call I'm going to have to make. But in order to find the future value of a property, I don't need to know about the seller. I don't need to know about what the wholesaler thinks. I just need to use current market trends, current data that I can find from these free apps. So this property is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, 3,500 square feet. We don't have a listing description or anything like that because it's off market. It was secured under contract. We don't know what the price point that the wholesaler secured it under contract, but it's being resold to me, the rights to the contract, and they're asking $475,000. Again, they told me it was worth $750,000. Let's see if that checks out. So 3 beds, 2.5 baths, 3,500 square feet is what this says. It was built in 1989, and let's find where the neighborhood is, because we're gonna have to look in this neighborhood to determine what the numbers are. So this neighborhood, if I'm looking at it from a map and I zoom in, it looks like this neighborhood is a small pocket to choose from, with the neighborhood barriers being this yellow street, North Shore Drive. Looks like we got like a green belt behind it. It looks like the end of Eagles View Drive is another neighborhood. It looks like there's a street right next to it with a private entrance from the main street. And then we have Westland Drive right here. So I want to find similar properties that have sold over the last 6 months right here in this neighborhood where you see my cursor. So the next step is to go open Redfin in a new tab and go to the zip code. Type in the zip code and then zoom in on the neighborhood and adjust our criteria to see what's actually sold in that pocket. So zooming into the neighborhood. Okay, so we have the neighborhood here on a map with Redfin. So the next step is to adjust the criteria to make sure that we're comparing our property and the characteristics of it to what's actually sold based on those data inputs that we could put in with Redfin. I'm gonna say sold. I don't want for sale properties. I want sold stuff over the last 6 months. I'm also gonna change the other filters to houses only, okay? And I'm gonna say the square footage, ours is 3,500. I'm gonna go up to 4,000, and ours was built in 1989, so I'm gonna adjust mine to be within a decade. I would say the newest house that I'm willing to look at is built in 2000. So we have 2 data points here. We have a 670,000 and a 675,000. I actually really like these numbers because although there's only 2 data points that are sold, if the square footage is somewhat similar to ours, we know it's sold in the last 6 months, the only 2 data points that we have were literally within 1% of a sales price of each other. So let's look at them. The $670,000 house is 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 3,600 square feet. The $675,000 house is 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and 3,200 square feet. I like both of those. That gives me enough of a trend from a small pocket like that for me to say that this would be a deal. This is enough data to tell me that I'll probably be able to sell mine for about $675,000. Now remember, the wholesaler was asking $475,000, so there's about a $200,000 spread there, but we're gonna have to adjust it with our renovation costs. We'll see how much it costs. It's a pretty big house, so it's probably a relatively high renovation cost. We're gonna have realtor costs for the resale of the property. We're gonna have closing costs and holding costs, so there's a lot of hidden costs that go into a deal like this. But looking at it from first glance, this is a deal because there's enough room for me to at least put a second set of eyes on it and go a little bit further. And there's also a very clear exit strategy so we can begin with the end in mind. Let's take a look at what's next. All right, I had my contractor walk the house with me and give me a full breakdown. Here's what we found out. Now, first off, it's in pretty good structural condition, the same way that they had described it. However, the roof seems to have a couple of leaky areas. Now, in looking at it, the roof seems pretty good, but there are a couple of skylights that have discoloration in the ceiling. And so that indicates, probably to others that are looking at it from a little bit different of a perspective, to others, they may think the entire roof needs to be replaced. But for us, we were able to see that the skylight is just leaking. So all we would have to do is seal up the skylight and switch up the paint, maybe put some sheetrock and some drywall in. It wouldn't have to be a full new roof. Now, secondly, the house is marketed as a 3-bedroom house, but upstairs there's a huge bonus room that does have a closet in it, as well as a window with what's called egress, which is the amount of clearance that a room needs to have for somebody essentially to be able to escape in case of a fire. The room had egress and a closet, which means it's actually a 4-bedroom home, although it's been marketed as a 3-bedroom home. So we have 4 bedrooms. We have 2.5 bathrooms. Now the wallpaper and the carpets and the paint and the walls, everything is definitely dated, especially compared to the other properties that we're looking at in the neighborhood. So we're going to have to do a whole new renovation on it. In the kitchen, we are able to save a little bit of money. Rather than putting all new cabinets in, we looked at the properties that have sold in the neighborhood, the 670 and the 675, and those houses actually just painted the original cabinets in the kitchen. This kitchen's cabinets are in good enough condition where we'd be able to do the same, put some new countertops on it, put some really nice backsplash on it. Now, it is a high amount of square footage. Structurally, there is nothing wrong. What I really do like about this house, though, is it has a basement that's over 1,000 square feet, and it has access to the exterior from the side of the basement. So you could have that as a mother-in-law suite. You can have that as something that maybe the new buyer can rent out as an Airbnb. It could be really, really good as a value add, especially because the other 2 properties that sold for the $670,000 and the $675,000, both of those properties did not have a basement. They had 32 and 3,600 square feet with no additional bonus room. So I like the property. And going over the numbers, I could probably have made this work if I had a $50,000 budget, but my contractor came in at a $100,000 budget to make this happen because we'd have to have nice finishes, because of the sheer square footage of the property, and because of some of the drywall work that we would have to do. And so the next step is to go in and reanalyze the numbers based on our $675,000 after repair value, our $100,000 rehab budget, to make sure that we're hitting the right amount of profit that we would need to make in order to feel comfortable. All right, now that we have our updated numbers on this property, it's time to really dig in. And I like to use my calculator. This is something that's made me personally millions of dollars by having as just a spreadsheet that tells me how much money I should project to make based on the numbers that come in and whether or not it's a good deal. Now, for everybody watching this, I will not do a deal if I don't project to make upfront. I won't even pursue a deal if I can't project to make at least 10% of my projected resale value. So with this property, with our actual numbers being a projected resale of $675,000, I need to make around $67,000 minimum, at least on paper, in order for me to pursue it. This gives me cushion and room if, for example, my rehab budget goes over, or if it takes longer, or something happens, right? There's different things that are unknown that end up coming up all the time in house flipping, and I need to be protected and prepared because I refuse, and I've learned this the hard way, I refuse to have myself backed into a corner where I'm making decisions based on me being desperate. Meaning, if I am close to making zero based on something going over budget just by a little bit or something going over schedule by a little bit, all of a sudden, I start making decisions based on a scarcity complex, based on high emotions. I feel backed into a corner. I make rash decisions. I'm not sure which word to use. I much rather would do this for profit, and it may be eaten to my profit, but I'm still doing well at the end of the day. So that 10% cushion is essential for me. Now, putting these numbers in, this is what the deal looks like for me, at least right now, based on what they are asking for the property. I'm expecting 6 months of a project. You know, it's going to take me a few months to do it. I'll put it on the market for a couple months, and then once I get my offer, it'll take about 30 days to resell. So 6 months is what I'm looking at. Now, with the after repair value, remember, they tried to tell us that it was $750,000, but we are at $675,000. So what they're asking is $475,000, and the contractor that I brought in there gave me a bid of $100,000 to make this happen. Now, if you're looking on paper, without knowing the rules to the game, at a purchase price of $475,000, rehab costs of $100,000, and a resale value of $675,000, it may look good on paper because there's about $100,000 to play with, you know, for lender's fees and for holding costs and closing costs. But there's also real estate commissions. That stuff adds up. And so I need to be at $67,000 or more in projected profit, or else I can't do the deal. So I'm obviously going to have to offer less than what they're asking for the property, but with the resale numbers being where they're at, and with some of the things that other investors may not see the same way that I do, such as they may feel like the whole roof needs to be replaced. We just know we need to replace some seals and paint and clean some stuff up with some skylights. It still does look like an opportunity worth pursuing, and that resale number is solid and on point. So let's jump into this a little bit closer to see what we can do. So if I'm purchasing at $475,000, I have rehab costs of $100,000 and a resale of $675,000. Well, I'll have closing costs, I'll have holding costs that go into it, I'll have hard money administrative fees, I'll have 6 months of interest, I'll have hard money lender points if I bring in a second position lender, so I'm $0 out of my own pocket. I'll also have gap funder interest, and then if I resell the property, I'll have realtor costs of 5%. I also have resale closing costs. So realistically, although on paper, at a purchase of $475,000, rehab of $100,000, and a resale value of $675,000, although, you know, it looks really inviting and really promising on paper, after all those fees are put into it and all those costs get eaten up, if I sold it with all these numbers, I would only make $10,000. Now, if it went less than 6 months, I might make a few grand more, but that is not where I need to be. So I need to adjust my offer price in order for all my numbers to work out. So I am going to play around with this calculator. Instead of $475,000, let's see if $425,000 works. Now, $425,000 is a no-go, but I have a real estate agent that's willing to list it at 1%, so my total realtor fees, rather than being 5%, would be 2.5% to the buyer's agent and 1% to my agent. So let's try 3.5%. Now, adjusting the commission like that makes it a go. Now, let's see how much room I have to play with just in case they don't accept $425,000. Let's say $430,000. $430,000 is what barely makes it a go, right? $430,000 beats my 10% minimum criteria needed by $300. So I know I cannot go higher than $430,000. Let's call the wholesaler and see how it goes. $430,000 is my magic number. I'm going to start lower than that and see if I can get them up. So you don't know if you don't try. Yo, what's going on, man? I ran my numbers for the Harper property and we're gonna be way less than what you guys are asking. Yeah, quite a bit less. It's gonna be way more in rehab. You're looking at 6 figures of rehab, dude. Yeah, Yeah, I'm willing to submit the offer, but yeah, $425,000. Doesn't hurt to ask. No, I don't have room to go up. Nobody's gonna pay you $475,000 for that. That roof is shot, all right? Yeah, text me. All right, bye. Well, there you have it. Doesn't hurt to make the offer. I put it in verbally. They're going to check with their people, see if they can make it work. They didn't straight up say no, which tells me that other people were probably hesitant on that one as well. And so we'll wait for the call back and see how it goes. All right, you guys, I got the call back. They said they couldn't do $425,000, but they wanted to meet me in the middle. The middle of $425,000 and $475,000 doesn't work for me. That's $450,000. That's out of my range. Actually, if I show you what that looks like, if I came in at $450,000, that put me at $46,000, which, as my calculator tells me, that's a hard pass. So I am going back and forth with them. I think because they're even willing to consider my price point of $50,000 less than what they were asking, I think that they would probably, I think they would make it work at $425,000, but they want to feel like they're winning somehow. People just, in negotiations, they love concessions. That's why I started at $425,000 rather than going to $430,000 right from the beginning. Because if I go up to my target number, they're going to feel like they got a deal. They'll think that I feel like I got a deal, which it would be a deal for me. But I like to ask a little bit lower in a negotiation than where I need to be so everybody feels like they've won. All right, I was just out playing with my kids, and sure enough, got a call back with a counter offer of $430,000. Let's head back to the calculator. Let's see if we can make it work. We got it at $430,000. That is locked in, and I've already made a call to my lender and asked if I could get a little bit of room on my interest rate. And they were at 9.5%, so I asked them if I could get it at 9%. Let's see what that looks like at 9%. It increases my amount of profit by a little over $1,000. So it looks like I can make $69,000 if everything goes perfectly on this flip, which also gives me room just in case we go 10% over budget on the rehab, meaning instead of $100,000, it goes up to $110,000. I'm still making $59,000. If I was to be at that initial price point that they asked me for, if I went over budget by 10 grand, I would be at break even, or even in having the potential to lose on this property. So this is a deal. This is how the game works. It's pretty fun documenting this for you. All in a day's work as a real estate investor. If you want to learn how to do this, hit the link in the description. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to jump in the comments. I got you. Signing off. Happy investing. All right, you guys, there you have it. That is how the game is played in today's market. If you want to learn anything else, hit the links below in the description. Make sure you ask me a question in the comments. Happy investing.